All right, welcome everybody to the South Coast Food Policy Council. We are a program of the Marion Institute. Today's quarterly meeting, this is our first quarterly meeting of the year, and we have a lot to go over. So I'm going to share my screen and get us started. So within our organization, we do have a community advisory board that comprises of people from across the region, from Wareham to Fall River. And we did have a CAB meeting, but we are now in our quarterly meeting. That said, oops. We are now having problems with my screen share. Go back to that. Sure, we're having a problem here.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so for today, we have a full agenda for just this hour during lunch, and we appreciate everybody being here and spending time with us. We're going to go over our land acknowledgement. We're going to review a tiny bit of history of what the South Coast Food Policy Council has, how we've emerged over the last few years. We're going to review the 2023 successes. We're going to review some of the annual things that we do every year. So there's a clear understanding. Here's the different events that we do during the year. We are going to talk about the focus of this year. We're turning more towards policy and training on policy and our education of the food system. We're going to review the legislative priorities and the direction we're moving with the Community Advisory Board. I'm going to share an action alert, and we'll talk about HIP. We're having a HIP lobby day, so we're going to be talking about that as well, and we'll take questions, and we'll talk about the next meeting in May. So I'm going to take some time to really put ourselves in the place, in the right mind frame of when we talk about food. So we acknowledge that this land is the traditional unceded territory of the Wampanoag. Pre-English invasion, this place, its gift of fertile soil, waters, wildlife, and beauty had already sustained Indigenous tribes for 12,000 years. We honor and respect the precious food sources discovered, harvested, and cultivated by Native people, and remain grateful to them for their connectedness to their land and their food traditions. We further acknowledge the lands of the Cape Verdeans, African Americans, Latinx people farmed in this area that have been lost through structural racism. We make these acknowledgements with intention and accept the responsibility of all we continue to learn. We will honor the resources which sustain us today through their protection, and may food be just one of the many connections we use in our work to repair relationships with Indigenous, people of color, and nations living here today. With that said, I'm going to just quickly go over some of our history so there's a broader understanding of where the South Coast Food Policy Council's role in our region. So the Marion Institute is 30 years old. Congratulations, Marion Institute. We have several programs as a nonprofit, including the Grow Education Biomed program, the South Coast Food Policy Council, and our Frogfoot Farm Neighbors Feeding Neighbors. Now, some of our history is in 2019, we started looking at convening monthly meetings during the pandemic. That was a big issue. So we moved from a regional food network to an actual food policy council under the Marion Institute, and we started meeting during that time. And it was weekly meetings with the whole region, building up into a huge network of people across the area from Plymouth County, Bristol County, and some other counties, including the Cape and the Islands. It was during this time that the leaders in the leadership started looking at, okay, if we are looking at from 2019 to 2020, we're looking at doing resource meetings and doing more of the direct service work. In 2021, we started backing out and looking at, oh, this is, maybe it's not our role in direct service. Our role is really food policy council. as the policy side. So we started looking at the infrastructure. So hiring a staff person, we convened and identified people in the community to be on the community advisory board. At the same time, we published the 2021 Southeastern Massachusetts Food System Assessment, or the FSA. We convened those community advisory board members, and we started doing trainings with them and started looking at how we can develop our priorities and moving forward. So in 2022, the community advisory board used the food system assessment in a dialogical decision-making process of taking 150 or so ideas and kind of whittling down to about 27. And then we put them into those priorities into working groups, which is food access, education and communication, capacity building, and food and education. And then what we did during 2022 was we started looking at how do we then take all those priorities within each working group and then really kind of decide which is the one priority we can actually do this year. So we took that time of 2022 of trying to meet in our working groups, and within those working groups, then we recruited more people into the working groups from the community. So that's kind of a summation of what's happened very briefly. Now, in this past year, when we looked at what actually happened in 2023, well, we really looked at developing and deepening relationships with legislators in our area. Because we cover a massive area from Bristol County and Plymouth County and part of Norfolk County, we were trying to look at which legislators do we want to start building relationships and over time expand that. So we really focused on 8 particular state legislators to develop relationships, and we did. We met with them and we had many discussions with them. We also actually internally did a lot of advocacy, writing over 75 letters of support, including written testimony in different hearings that we had, that the state had on different bills. We also launched the Eat Local South Coast Challenge. 199 participants joined in that challenge. And in the ratings, we got a 4.6 star rating on that. And what that does, it was specifically designed to actually educate people on the food system in our region. So each week people got a weekly email, and in that email, we had information about food production, food processing, food access and consumption, food policy, and so on. And we gave people a lot of different tips of how to eat local. So it was a really fine-tuned piece of education that we're continuing into this year. We also do yearly the September Action Month for food action. And so we continue to talk about our partners, all the different food pantries, and the ways to volunteer for the food pantries, to donate to food pantries. And it was a real partnership lift of all the different food pantries in our region and trying to activate people in the community to be getting involved in September. We also hosted the virtual food summit, and we had 113 registrants. It was for food recovery and food waste and its impact on the environment. Food definitely crosses sectors, and one of them is with the environment. And we definitely had a fantastic discussion with EPA and other experts in this field with the community on what this looks like today and what do we need to do in the future. Also, within the South Coast Food Policy Council, we incubated Frogfoot Farm, Neighbors Feeding Neighbors. And that is going to be basically a farm to food pantry program where the food grown on that will go directly to the food pantries. We're hoping that this will be a base of operation for a gleaning program. So gleaning is when you go into farms, if the farmers want to do this with us, and they harvest the food that is on the fields, and we bring it to, we want to develop a distribution process that food will go into the food pantries in our region. So those are the main pieces of success we've had this past year. I'm going to stop sharing. If there are any questions, I encourage you to use the chat, or at this time, just unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions about what I've been over from our history to what our successes have been in 2023. So if you have questions, please let us know in the chat or just unmute yourself. Okay, Just know that you have access to that, and Liz and Rita are looking, they'll be watching the chat. If you have any questions, you can always send them something as well. So I'll continue with our PowerPoint. Okay. Now, turning to food policy. This past year, we recognized that we're at a point where we want to start diving more into food policy. We met with our community advisory board in January, and we talked about the different legislative issues we are looking at. We asked the community advisory board we had a discussion about, hey, if we are going to do this and based on our priorities, where should these legislative priorities be? Because instead of the policy working group be the only group working on policy, every single working group is going to be working on policy. And so that was a huge shift in what we had been doing. So as a result, we said, okay, community advisory board members, if these are our priorities, which working group would this best suit? So we did a legislative briefing really quickly on all the legislative issues and determined that this is where the different legislative pieces fall in the working groups. So in the food access working group, we're going to work on an act encouraging the donation of food to persons in need, which is really looking at how to create more avenues for businesses and farmers by incentivizing them with a $5,000 cap if they should donate food to different places. And it's also expanding the current Samaritan laws, which protect donors and receivers of the food from any liability. So this particular piece of legislation helps both the food pantries and it helps the farmers and businesses to then incentivize them to give food. So this is something we think is a very priority. An act establishing basic needs assistance for Massachusetts immigrant residents. We're also working on this. We think this is incredibly important. Immigrants that are legally present in Massachusetts are not eligible currently for SNAP, which is a federal program. So what we're doing is we're trying to develop a state paid program where the state is paying for SNAP for Massachusetts immigrant residents. And we think this is an incredibly important piece. This is not a precedent we're setting. The bill had been passed years and years ago. And so we're trying to reactivate it right now. The next is an act relative to the agricultural incentive, healthy incentive program, which is the companion to SNAP at the state level, whereas there's a $1 match. So if you have $60 in your SNAP card, you have $60 in HIP that you could use specifically to buy fresh fruits and vegetables from local farmers and farm stands and mobile farm pantries. So those are the pieces that the food access is going to take on. The capacity building is going to work on the act establishing the farm to school grants, which is something that was started during the pandemic to increase the ability for schools systems to reach into the grants to actually build infrastructure out, for instance, building out kitchens so they can have scratch cooking for the students and have culturally appropriate food. It's also for food literacy education and also things like building above ground little areas for farming for students to learn how to do that. So those are pieces really important. The act supporting farm and school partnership program and school meals. That's really cool. This one is really actually incentivizing schools to actually buy from local food, local farmers. So if this passes, this is a dollar amount where the schools would get every dollar they spend on buying local food in Massachusetts, they would get $3 from the state. So this is a really important piece of legislation that will incentivize and change local procurement. We're hoping for the better. In the policy group, which we will rename because everybody's now doing policy, we'll continue to work on promoting equity in agriculture, which is a bill that will set up a commission that will have Black, Indigenous, and people of color on the commission to actually look at do the research and what are the barriers to getting equity to be a farmer, to get a loan and things like that. So there'll be that commission will put forward recommendations that we hope will be put into place. An act protecting our soil and farms from PFAS. is really looking at PFAS as a chemical that has been put into our soil over time. And this is actually providing farmers with some money to be able to either mitigate the problem or to provide some technical assistance so they're no longer using chemicals, and it's a different way to do farming, and it provides help to farmers. An act relative to raising the minimum wage closer to a living wage in the Commonwealth. This is something we'll keep an eye on, and that would be, we would have to seek some local coalition work, and if there's not, then we'll start looking at the national level, but that's definitely addressing a priority. The Massachusetts food system budget items, which are plenty, and you'll be seeing more from us on this. There's many programs in the Massachusetts food at the state level that are necessary to operate. And so we're going to be advocating on behalf of not only the programs, but those budget items in the actual budget, the line items. We're also following the Congressional Farm Bill and have been advocating over the year for that and providing avenues for getting involved. We're hoping that will move through the federal level, but it happens every 5 years. So every 4 years, we'll start working on it to get it up to get a lot of momentum behind us. The education and communication, we're looking at an act to promote food literacy. Food literacy is really taking K to 12. And we want to put food literacy into all the curriculums in every school system in Massachusetts. So that bill is an amazing bill. If we can get this through, it would basically DESE, Department of Secondary and Elementary Ed, along with MDAR, be working together to put staff in place to develop the curriculum, and then we will be implementing that. So that's a fantastic lift. So I'm going to stop there as well. I've shared a lot of the priorities that we're working on. And I'm going to stop. If there are any questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to at this point. Okay. All right. We'll check the time. Okay. Lots of time. All right. All right. Continue. Okay. Now, one of the things that has happened this past year, is we got a grant from Project Bread. It's called Moving the Needle. And in that grant, we were able to buy some technology that's the one click, whether you have a phone or you have a laptop or whatever technology you have, you can actually, if you could share that in the chat, that link, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and just talk about this.
It's there in the chat.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So how many of you actually belong to any platform where you get legislative advocacy sent to you and you do it on the phone where it's one click, you just type in your address and your name and you just send the letter out? Anybody belong to those already? Any? Okay. And this is what we have. Fantastic, Pam. Yay. So for those of you, Pam, do you have a question?
No, I just can't figure out how to put my hand back down.
Awesome. Okay.
Sorry, because
Okay.
I'm on my phone.
All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the link and I'm going to share with you how this works. So give me a second. I'm going to screen share. Okay, so when you see an action alert, when you see that link, you're going to basically see the landing page, and it's basically describing what the problem is. In this case, for us, we have several food security bills that are going through, have made it out of their joint committees and whatever committee they're in, and they're now in the House Ways and Means. House Ways and Means Committee controls the budget. So what we want to do is we want to focus on all of you, to have you contact your legislators to say to the House Ways and Means, this is important, you need to fully fund this. So what we did in this is I actually put in links to fact sheets. So when you're on the live link, not here, when you're on your own live link, you'll be able to click on this and it'll take you to the fact sheet. So you can learn more about the particular piece of information that we're asking you to take action on. You can always contact us too if you have any questions. And if you look to the right, you can see there's a place for you to fill out your information. So once you do that, I am, yeah, once you do that, I'm gonna actually do this.
Carlene, do you have a question? You want to unmute?
No, I didn't have a question. I just couldn't figure out how to put my hand up, so I just wrote it.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Once you put your address in, you will go to this page. Now, this works with both your phone or whatever computer system you have. And all we're doing up here is we're saying, hey, there's a section below where you can actually type in additional information. So we made it so you can change the letter if you want to. So that's all we're saying at the top. So right here, you'll be able to see, because I put my contact information in for my home senator is Mark Pacheco, and my representative is Susan Gifford. So that's where I'll see, oh, the letters are going to go there. And so this is what we're suggesting you say, and we encourage you to put type your own story wherever you want. There's no limitation on how long this has to be. So if you are interested in supporting HIP here, which is the first one, S85, H150, you can add just after the story here. You can add your story. I have been on Snap and I used whatever you want to say. And then you can keep going down. You can add whatever story you want to convince them that this is very important. You want this fully funded. And then you would hit send this letter. I'm not going to hit it right now because I've typed in it. But that's all you would do. In response, you would get an email back saying, hey, thank you for doing this. Can you share this with your friends? And it gives you an option from Facebook, from Instagram and Twitter to share this further along, or if you want to email it out to other people. So we ask you to take this action. So that link that Rita just shared in the chat, this is going to be what we're going to be using moving forward, these types of actions. So we are trying to make this as most accessible as possible. So you can use your phone with this. You can use your laptop or whatever you have with this. You can certainly also write a letter in an email separate to this if you want to do this. Sometimes we'll also have ways for you to make phone calls. If there's something, an emergency, we might put in, here's a little script for you to call your legislator. And then we'll have that script for you to use to call. So these are the ways we're going to really taking action moving forward with this. And we'll be able to then, as advocates, say, hey, we know that 114 letters went out to these legislators. This is great. This is good news. And so when we talk to the legislator, we can say, we know there's been a lot of support, and what are you going to do about this? So these are different ways that we're going to take action. This is just one way to take action, is through this type of advocacy. There are other ways. Then I'm going to stop. Are there any questions on this type of advocacy that we're going to be doing from now on? No. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep going then. Okay. The other action is going to be a HIP lobby day. So the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative is organizing a HIP lobby day on March 26th. Rita, can you put that registration in the chat? So what we're going to be doing is we're setting up appointments with our legislators, and we'll have talking points in that fact sheet that I showed you earlier. And we're going to go around to meet with our different legislators that day and just talk about the importance of HIP. And again, if you're SNAP eligible, you're automatically eligible for HIP, which is $1 to match. And it's really important that we fund this. We have a lot of people in Massachusetts that use HIP, and this is something we want to continue funding. And there is a bill to actually make this a permanent part of the budget. So every year it's in the budget, and we're not constantly fighting for it to be in a budget or to draw money from different places. So it's funded. So this is really a key piece. So if you if you're available on March 26th, we're putting together carpooling. So if you register, then please let me know as well that you're interested in going, so we can then start organizing the carpool. And I'm going to be setting up meetings with our legislators in our region, not just the ones that we're really focusing on that have not supported. The rest of the time there at Lobby Day, we're just going to be doing visits and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's really all we're going to do for the legislators that are already supporting us. And the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative is they do this every year and they're doing a fantastic job. So I want to commend Jay and Becca and all the other staff members there at the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative. And we appreciate your leadership on this. So I'm going to stop here. Are there any questions on that Lobby Day? Okay. So this is the first time the South Coast Food Policy Council is entering into this realm. And so we appreciate all those who are already going, and we encourage you to think about coming in the future. We'll have other days. There is an agricultural day, what they call Ag Day. So there's different things, different lobby days throughout the year for different bills. This is the one we are going to be jumping into. Any questions? Okay. All right, just a little bit more. All right, our next meeting is on May 21 at noon. And we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be moving in a different direction now. We're going to start our policy trainings. So with the help of Project Bread, we now have some grant money to focus on developing policy trainings moving forward. So every quarterly meeting is going to have a piece of policy training. And then we'll also we'll do issue briefings more specifically, we'll have more action alerts, and we'll have updates from the working groups. But if there's other things that you want to see or hear in the May meeting or any of the quarterly meetings, please contact us at sfpc@marioninstitute.org. Okay. And that, my friends, is actually all I have to present, but we can definitely have discussion. I haven't been following the chat. Is there anything? Okay. Okay. Any other questions about where we are? Does it make sense, the direction we're moving? Do you have any thoughts or concerns about the direction we're moving in policy and education?
Our community updates. I see a lot of our wonderful community partners on here and want to give you time to give an update on what's happening in your sectors and in your corners of the South Coast and further afield. So
yeah, please, if you want to share what's happening in your world, please unmute yourself and go ahead and talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Carlene, hi.
I just wanted to say that I've learned a lot more about the Institute going through all this today, and it's lots of great work. And I look forward to doing more.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
thanks, Carlene.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you.
I think, Carlene, I think that Buddy, and I think Buddy's on here, but I think Buddy was going to bring Christine to participate in one of your neighborhood association meetings and give sort of an update like this too, and see who wants to get involved.
Yeah,
yep.
that would be great. That would be great.
That would be great.
Thanks, Carlene.
Huh? What'd you say, Christine?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. You're so welcome. So welcome.
Marcia, you get the best background of the day. Just
with
Got it.
Marsha, which seems appropriate, right?
that's right. It's looking good. Joan, did you want to say something? And
Yes, I did. I've been frantically trying to find the raise hand option and not finding it. Yes, the whole meeting has been really, really interesting. But as a SNAP recipient and as an definitely mature woman with many health conditions that are very dependent on eating healthy, the whole HIP initiative, I find absolutely not just interesting, but compelling. This is something I would be 120% behind and want to do everything possible to move this forward. This is crucially important, yeah. You know that I am a SNAP recipient, right? And that I volunteer and also get food at the Pace Food Bank in New Bedford. And one thing that is really in short supply is fresh, healthy vegetables. It just, yeah, it's really the minority of stuff on the shelf. The stuff on the shelf is primarily carbs. And then, yeah, there is a certain amount of some good protein, but yeah, fresh, like leafy greens, etc. No, non-existent. And yeah, so anything. As I got a Social Security increase, which of course immediately caused a increase in rent and a reduction in food stamps. My food budget is even more challenged now. So the HIP option would just be so crucially important for so many people in my position that, again, yeah, I will do anything to move this forward. So thank you so much for all the fantastic work that you continue to do.
Thank you, Joan. And just a few comments. If you would like to join us in HIP Day, I would love to carpool. I can take you down to the State House.
I would be delighted.
All right, Joan, Kilroe. All right, so I'm going to contact you after, and then we can talk
just one
more.
question, Christine. Is that the 22nd or the 26th?
26, March 26th.
Okay, yeah, very good.
Yeah, and we're as a group of us trying to meet together and coordinate our efforts to go to the State House from our area. So we'll be able to figure something out with you, Joan.
All right, very good.
All right, so I'll get with you afterwards for the HIP Lobby Day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andrea and then Jay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Marcelli. I'm the Food Access Coordinator at Cape Cod Cooperative Extension for Burnsville County. And I just want to thank you, Christine, for allowing my colleague Kim and I to join you guys. And I am so impressed with all of the work you did and have been doing and continue to do. And this is just very insightful for Kim and I as we look forward to seeing what kind of efforts we want to put forward in the coming years. And also I did want to invite all of you. I know the Cape is a little bit further away over the bridge, but we're having 2 upcoming forums. One is a food waste diversion forum. I put the agenda in the chat, and there's many off-Cape speakers who will be coming to talk. So you might recognize some of those names. And then we are also having a grant writing workshop March 27th. If you're interested, both of these are free events. It is geared towards farmers and food producers, but we're opening up to anybody. So if you're interested, they're both free events. You can contact us on the flyers. Our contact information is there. So thank you.
Thanks, Andrea and Kim, for the work at the Cape Cod Extension. You guys are doing great work. And Jay.
Yeah, hey everybody. I just wanted to put in a plug for HIP Lobby Day, and Joan, think it's so great that you would come lend your voice to that. That program we fought. So I work with the Mass Food System Collaborative and used to work at the Food Project and some other places, and we've fought so hard to get that funding and keep that funding. And after it just feeling so hard to get it in place every year, it would look like it was going to run out of money, and the Department of Transitional Assistance and governor jumped in and said, nope, absolutely not. We've got it through this year. And the governor's proposed budget includes $25 million for next year. So now letting the legislature, so this is the first time that the governor's budget has started higher than anybody else's. So making sure that the legislature really understands the importance of this. Like, we've just got this great opportunity to build a lot of momentum and make sure that HIP gets put in place permanently. And so any help. So that's one thing. And then the second thing I wanted to say, just to build statewide excitement, is I'm part of a group that's a much paler reflection of this group, but up in Essex County on the North Shore, and is looking at the same legislation that you all, it's pretty much the same list that you all have of policies that they're looking to support. So that's just to say, like, it's great to see across the state people get so fired up and supporting these same just critically important bills. So just want to let you know, you're not alone. There's lots of folks getting together having these same conversations.
Thank you, Jay. That's fantastic to hear that. And yes, we'd love to like meet and just be like, hey, who's working on the same stuff and how do we work better together on these bills? That would be fantastic.
Let us get our act together a teeny bit more, and then I'll make that introduction.
Okay, great. I encourage you all, if you can't make the HIP lobby day, to do the action that Rita put up there, our legislative action, because it does talk about HIP, and you can add your information into any of the pieces that we're only doing for, supporting those 4 bills in that particular advocacy action. So you can write your story within there, and your legislator will hear that, and that's really important. All right, anybody else want to share what's happening in your world, Fall River area?
Hi, good morning. Good
Hey,
afternoon.
Kat.
I'm sorry, I'm lost in time right now. It all seems to merge together. We are doing a nutrition education series together with the UMass Extension, Mass in Motion, and Rhonda Fazio from Interwoven. I will drop the flyer in the chat. But that's about it. We're just picking up. Summer's coming, and I'm sure there's plenty more to share at the next meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Kat. Appreciate it. Marcia.
The program that Kat just referenced is based on a grant from Project Bread as well. And United Neighbors and Partners for a Healthier Community, the organization I work for, has also gotten a Project Bread grant, and we will soon be carrying out more crock pot programs like we did in New Bedford last year, which basically is hosting 20 low-income families, teaching them how to use crock pots. Very fun, very interactive, extremely educational in terms of how do you use this kind of vegetable in a crock pot. And families go away with kitchen utensils. This is all free, obviously, not for us. We have to pay for everything, but for our guests. So people will go away with ingredients, with kitchen materials, implements, utensils, and so forth, and a free crock pot. So once we get a little closer to growing season, because we'd like to use as much in the way of local produce as we possibly can. So we'll be serving approximately 40 families with that program very soon to come in Fall River.
Fantastic. So important that people learn really to learn skills on how to cook with what they have. So that's fantastic work.
It's all about being easy to prepare, taste good, and good for you, and not very expensive. So touching those 4 bases is really important.
Absolutely. In New Bedford, anybody want to give a shout out what is happening in your world?
Sure, I can just give an update on the school side. Yeah, we have summer coming too, so we'll have quite a bit of summer feeding programs going on, working with the Parks Department. We're also in the beginning stages of renovating a building off of North Street to house a brand new culinary center, central kitchen. It'll have a lot of space and give us more opportunity to produce meals for students in New Bedford. So that's exciting. The plan is scheduled to be finished by December of this year, but with everything concerns of construction, I'm going to say January or February. So we'll see what happens. But we'll get more information out as things start to develop over the next several months.
Really exciting stuff, Rob. This is so needed in our area, and we appreciate all the long-term work you've been doing on this. Great job.
So I see a comment in the chat. Oh, hi. Sorry. From Carlene asking if we can do that in New Bedford as well. I'm gonna let Marcia answer because she has more Project Bread knowledge. But the last event was in New Bedford at Keith Middle School.
Responded. Yep.
Right. It was extraordinary. There are a lot of moving parts to something like that because it's gathering all the materials, the grocery items, getting the crock pots and so forth. So, but I mean, certainly you can do it any way you'd like to do it if you have the time, the support, because it's certainly not a one-person operation. I mean, and it's a matter of finding the site. We work with UMass Extension Nutrition Education Program. They do all the food demos. It's and bring in 5 crock pots with meals already in them. So it's quite an operation. And again, that first one, that prototype one, which I think is one of the reasons why we got the grant, is because we've been able to say that we tried it and by golly, it worked. So sure, anybody can do it. It's just a matter of getting the right people together with the energy to do it. The resources as far as knowing to whom to go and when and what it is that you're asking for. So, but sure, anything is doable, right?
Love it. I can give you a quick update, Christine.
Yeah,
And Marsha, I
absolutely.
love your positivity. You're right. Anything is doable. It's just a matter of deciding to do it. So we are just about ready to hire a new food center coordinator. So we're excited about that. And so that will, I'm sure, sort of ramp things up a little bit more in terms of programming and things like that. And we're starting to do some planning for the summer. So we are looking to take advantage of our space outside and do some things out there in terms of pulling in the community, utilizing food center food, potentially doing some kind of community meal type scenarios. We also are excited that our Head Start program got a garden grant through DESE. And so we'll be doing that collaboratively at the food center because if some of you may not know that we actually share abutting properties with one of our Head Start sites. So we'll be doing that. And then, we're looking forward to any other things that folks are interested in potentially, operating or doing at our location. We welcome the collaboration. So feel free to get in touch with Brooke at the Pace Community Food Center on Park Street. And we're looking forward to making this summer a summer of activities. We weren't quite ready for that last year, but we're in the space to do that now. So thanks.
Thanks, Pam. Congratulations on all the work you're doing. It's an amazing facility there. And the fact that you're expanding is just so needed in the community, and we're grateful.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome. Anybody else want to share on what's happening in your community?
Hi, I'm Vanilla with Mo Life Food Pantry and also a member of the Food Access Committee. I wanted to share that we did our first dry run last week from the Shared Palette program, and I don't know if anyone here from PACE or anyone who benefited from it is also here. They want to share, but we did receive some cases last week, and we are, very happy. And hopefully we're going to meet up soon and see and solidify all the plans to move forward with this project.
Vanilla is talking about a collaboration in our area with Fall River, some food pantry in Fall River, Citizens for Citizens, Mo Life, PACE, the Greater New Bedford Hunger Commission from the United Way. And the idea is that the Greater Boston Food Bank, if you are an agency of the Greater Boston Food Bank, they do have a USDA commodities program. If you choose to sign up as a food pantry to receive commodities, there is, of course, additional administrative work in that. However, having said that, that also means you are eligible to receive full pallets of food. It's amazing. Now, the problem in our area, our food system assessment showed that most food pantries in our area do not have enough dried or frozen or refrigerated storage space to receive additional food. So they couldn't take advantage of the USDA program from the Greater Boston Food Bank. So as a result, we tried something where we pulled a group together who are Greater Boston Food Bank agencies, their food pantries, who are USDA receivers, and then coordinated with PACE and all these different groups to take those full pallets to PACE, PACE breaks it up, and then it gets redistributed to the different food pantries that are part of this coordination. This is like a beta test in our area. And once, just like Vanilla said, if it works out, then we want to expand. We're only doing dry food right now, and maybe we can expand into looking at frozen and refrigerated. But again, it goes back to the issue that not enough food pantries have refrigerated and frozen storage space capacity. So if we want to expand this, we really need to look at building out infrastructure in the food bank system, or the food pantry system. And PACE is also looking at that as well. So yeah, we could potentially look at expanding that. So we'll see where it goes, but we do have a debrief from the first 2 weeks on, I think it's Thursday. And so we'll be able to report out later on what happened, and where this is going.
Christine, I just so that you guys know too, we're actually applying for some grant funds to try to create additional space for storage that would help to accommodate some of the things that you just talked about. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Fabulous. And Jay.
And just wanted to make sure everybody knew about the Food Security Infrastructure Grant Program that now the Department of Agricultural Resources is administering, and I'm sure people do, but just putting that out there, because that is such a great source of money for that.
Yes, if you're a food pantry and you're looking to expand, FSIG is one of the grants that you can go after. It's a really cool program.
But do we know any, like, when it's going to be released or any information? Has it, right?
Yep, it's already released and it's due by
What?
March 29th. There are two parts to the grant. One is for $500,000 for a big project, and then there are small up to $100,000 for equipment.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Rob. That's awesome.
Hi, sorry, just to clarify, the grant that's open right now is actually a new program from MDAR, so we're still waiting on FSIG, the one that we've seen the last few years in a row.
Are you thinking of the resilient food grant, Rob? Maybe that's the one
they all have the same letters in their acronym and the same buzzwords, so they are really similar. That's a good one to go for as well, but we are still waiting on FSIG to come out in the next I would guess month or so, but can't really be sure.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, MDAR picked up part of the food security infrastructure grant stuff too. So I don't know if, like you said, Jacqueline, if they're going to do another one on that side. But I know MDAR is kind of. I thought they were taking it over, but maybe there's two. That's, hey, more money. That's more applying. I'll take that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to clarify, that is one the one that you're talking about, Rob, is MDAR. And it's the Resilient Food Infrastructure Grant. And there are those two different categories, like you said, an equipment only for 100,000 and then 500,000 for a bigger project. That's live, but there's still plenty.
And isn't it due March 20th?
March 29th.
Okay, because Sarah, I'm just looking at what you put in is the March 1. Oh, you mean March 1, not March 1st. Never mind.
Yeah.
These chats fast.
We encourage you also to partner with other groups to write a grant together. That'd be the other piece of advice for food pantries. Just partner, start looking around in your area who potentially has the same problem, and maybe you guys can collaborate on a grant. All right, anything else in the community that's happening you want to share?
Well, thank you all for attending today, for your input and your time. Appreciate it.
A quick note, I did put that grant link in there because I think we all got the name wrong. It's a Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Program. So it's there and there's still plenty of time to apply.
Fabulous. Thank you all. We will put the recording, the notes, and the PowerPoint up on our website where we have our quarterly meeting information. Thanks again, and we will see you in May. And please do the legislative advocacy, that one click. It's a very simple thing, but if you want to add more information, that's great. And